Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today we are going to be discussing another chapter, actually, of Mark Frost's book, Twin Peaks: The Final Dossier. This one titled Hornes and Haywards. My guest today is Frank. How's it going?
I'm doing well, Cam. How are you doing there?
Doing great, doing great. That's the start of a new week.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's
Yeah,
wonderful having something great to discuss, which is this book. Um, we're going to be discussing, like I said, the Hornes and Haywards chapter. This, of course, chronicles what may or may not have happened once Ben Horne went over to the Haywards to confront Will and Donna. the
yeah.
the night of Miss Twin Peaks contest, or so we think. So, Frank, I know you have the audio of the book. What do you think of this book so far?
Really enjoying it very much. Uh, um, I've listened to it. I've listened to it once all the way through, and then been going back a second time just to sort of pick up on the points that we're going to be discussing tonight. You know, the chapter. But it's been really intriguing all the way through. Really, you know. As I think some other people have been saying, you know, if I had the book in front of me now, they're saying it's a bit of a page turner, you know. This is the feedback I've been getting. All the feedback I've been getting really has been pretty positive about the whole book,
Well, and
you know.
especially
So
since it is kind of short,
yeah,
maybe for some books that would be like a negative thing. But I think it's just kind of, it gets in and gets out. It doesn't do any
yeah,
more than it needs to, which is great. You know, it doesn't meander at all. It just kind of gives you the information you need, and off we go.
yeah, yeah. So all the points that he needs to say, and then that's it, and it's straight on to the next thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Did you notice that all of the case numbers, I don't know if they say this in the audiobook, but all the case numbers end with 119. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of a cool thing. And then if you have the book and you turn to page 119, it is the Judy chapter. Isn't that an amazing coincidence, Frank?
That's great. Yeah. Yes, on the
So,
audio. On the audio, it does. She Annie Wershing, who's playing Tamara on there, says pretty much what you get on the page. She says the case number, case file number, the whole thing. 072 0011, you know, 01119 at each section that she reads. Yeah, so you get that every time.
I
Yeah,
just think it's kind of cool that they connected the 119 this way. So it kind of touches it, but it doesn't explain anything. It's just kind of a nice little touch, you know?
yeah, it's nice. It's nice to bring in all those little things in, all those little points. Yeah,
Exactly. So Horns and Haywards. It's kind of an epic title.
it
Two
is.
um, families in the community of Twin Peaks, two very well respected
Yeah,
families. I think one is more good natured. I think obviously the Haywards were definitely more good natured. The Horns, while respected, obviously were dabbling in a lot of uh, devious
oh yeah,
behavior.
yeah.
Uh, but it is interesting how these two families ultimately collide. So why don't we get into it here? All right. Tamara starts off the chapter um, by saying that she assembled these pieces from Dr. Will Hayward. She says the event in question appears to have happened on the same day as the explosion in the vault of the Twin Peaks Savings and Loan. She goes on by saying that evening, the incident's only living survivor, Ben Horne's 18-year-old daughter, Audrey, gravely injured in the explosion. All right. She says there's several curiosities. The first one is while being treated for the serious head injury in the same ER that same night was Audrey's father, Ben Horne.
Yeah.
Ben had spent most of the day in the hospital at Audrey's bedside, but apparently left sometime after dark, only to return as an urgent care patient a little over an hour later. Now, there is some time discrepancies here, because Ben went to the Haywards the night of the Miss Twin Peaks contest, and Audrey's incident at the bank happened the next day.
Yeah.
So he would have been admitted into the hospital 12 hours before she was.
Yeah.
And now it's saying that he spent the day at her bedside and then came back. like that incident happened later that night. Now, we can say either Will, as we were going to learn in this chapter, may have played with the facts a little bit. That's definitely a possibility. Another possibility is that with the Agent Cooper traveling back in time, that could have jingled up the timeline a little bit.
Yeah.
But Tamara, being an ace FBI agent, should have been able to figure out, well, no, he got admitted the night of the Miss Twin Peaks contest, and the savings and loan explosion happened the next day, just by the times and the date. I mean, even if Ben Horn got hit in the head after midnight, and it may be the same day, I mean, obviously Tamara would be able to see the time, the times that these things happened. Yeah. I mean, I think the savings and loan bank thing has a definite time stamp on it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just like, well, it happened sometime that day. So, I don't want to believe that Mark Frost is just kind of like making stuff up. I think I want to believe there's a definite plan to all this in terms of in his head of why things are happening this way. Maybe it's also just to engage the viewer or reader to make sure that we're paying attention. I don't know.
It could be that, yeah.
But that is Tamara's first curiosity. All right. The second curiosity, she says, is that Will Hayward admitted Ben Horn into the hospital after his injury.
Yeah.
She says the injury occurred at the Haywards' home, the result of a fall when Ben slipped on the hearth of the living room fireplace, hitting his head on the hard granite mantle. Now, we all know that's a bunch of hullabalooey. Will punched him and he flew into the fireplace. And I think both families are embarrassed by this kind of public spectacle in the living room, that they're both trying to figure out ways to kind of sweep this under the rug here. Says Doc Hayward goes on detail that Ben Horn came over despondent over his daughter's condition, had come over to the house seeking counsel about Audrey's chances of recovery. She says why this conversation never happened at the hospital is neither asked nor answered, since they were both there at the same time, right?
Yeah.
She goes on to say that Ben Horn became lightheaded after a few drinks and slipped. All right, that's a great way to cover it up, Will.
It's interesting that because up to that point, Will was always like a very honest, heart on your sleeve kind of upstanding member of the community, and the fact that he's covering up and lying about what really happened, goes against his professional oath, I would think, doesn't it, in some way, or
maybe, but I don't think he's doing it for selfish reasons. And I think that both men are trying to figure out how to keep this from exploding. They also both want to protect their daughters from being outed out in the community, but at the same time, though, the ultimate tragedy of this is that in doing so, both men still destroyed their families.
Yes. Yeah.
So it would have been that way either way. Apparently,
it would have. It probably would have got worse had that it not even happened. Somewhere down the line, it would have been even worse. By the time if the truth got out, the longer it took,
right,
could have been even more damaging.
So she says her third curiosity is that the only medical file I've been able to obtain was also written by Dr. Hayward. Apparently, they did some x-rays, and Ben Horne had suffered a grade 2 concussion. Then she says, with everything else going on in town, the bank explosion, Agent Cooper's disappearance, it appears that no officials ever questioned the doctor's account of Ben Horne's injury. Well, honestly, why would they? He's really good friends with everybody at the sheriff's department, right? They believe him to be a very upstanding citizen. What he did wasn't, it's not like he's dealing drugs at the roadhouse or something. I mean, he hit Ben Horne because Ben Horne was like trying to screw with his family.
Yeah.
Right. And Ben Horne just happened to fly into the fireplace. Right. So there it is. I mean, I don't know why, Tomorrow's kind of wanting everything checked out, but I get it. I mean, but it's nice. I love being in on the inside here where she doesn't know what's going on. She's trying to figure it out, but we all know what happened.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we're able to put together the discrepancies and be like, oh, I see why they said this, because obviously it covers up this and blah, 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 blah. I love knowing things that Tamara or Tamara doesn't.
Yeah.
All right. Fourth curiosity, she says. We now know that the next morning, Doc Hayward was with Sheriff Truman to examine Agent Cooper in his room at the Great Northern. While they were in the room, according to Doc Hayward's report, Agent Cooper went into the bathroom to brush his teeth, slipped on the bathroom floor, slammed his head into the mirror over the sink, knocking himself unconscious. Doc Hayward accompanied his patient to the hospital. This time, Sheriff Truman drove and admitted him with the same diagnosis as Ben Horne, a grade 2 concussion.
Yeah.
Now, this goes against what we saw in the series too, because Doc Hayward says in The Missing Pieces, you're going right back to bed. Right?
Yeah.
Which is, not the smartest thing to do to somebody who just knocked his head.
Not really. Straight through a glass mirror, yeah.
Yeah. But maybe he's going straight back to bed in the hospital. But the feeling we get in The Missing Pieces is he's going back to bed. Because, he woke up in the bed at the Great Northern.
Yeah.
Right? So it's obviously they had no problem. When Agent Cooper is lying in the on the ground at Glastonbury Grove, isn't it interesting that they wheel Annie to the hospital, but they just take Cooper back to his room at the Great Northern?
Yeah, it's just great, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but yeah.
No.
They should have both been admitted at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, so I guess they ended up taking Cooper to the hospital. Says that while that was happening, Ben Horne was discharged and Jerry took him home. Hopefully he wasn't high at the time. Okay, fifth curiosity. Agent Cooper, according to available records, spent the day and night in the hospital before checking himself out. It says within 2 days, he would vanish from Twin Peaks and disappear from view for a quarter of a century. We also know from Sheriff Frank Truman that at some point during that day, while making his rounds, Doc Hayward saw Cooper in his black suit exiting the room in the ICU occupied by Audrey Horne. Sixth curiosity is that Audrey Horne, 9 months later to the day, gave birth to Richard. The birth certificate says the identity of the father is unknown. Well, that matches up with what we heard in the series.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's a fascinating detail.
It is. And yeah, that too, it does connect. Yeah, exactly. We know where that was headed in the series. But also it connects with exactly with what Will said in the book, connects with the series when he was talking on Skype with Frank Truman, as you said. He mentions that he saw Cooper coming out of there. So that all that connects anyway.
Why do you think the doppelganger did that to Audrey? I mean, was it just an attempt to get back at a woman that idolized Agent Cooper, and so he wanted to kind of try to destroy her? Or do you think that he meant to give her a child, or that is just a byproduct of what happened? I mean, do you think that Richard was supposed to be part of a plan? I don't really see it, but I just seems to think it's like
It's interesting.
it's an extension of just the evil that the doppelganger did.
Yeah, but when you look at the episode where Bad Coop and Richard are out by that, you know, that rock, it almost seems like the way Bad Coop's kind of like sort of cajoling him in to go, you know, to go up there rather than him do it, and he's staying back. It almost seems like that was pre-planned to me. Something about that was like he needed him for that reason. It was like it seems as if he was planning that for a while. It was all part of all the things he was doing to get to where he needed to be. You know?
Well, I thought the doppelganger just kind of used him to test out whether that was a trap for him or not.
Yeah,
because I don't think he was planning on meeting Richard at the convenience store. He just kind of showed up there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it, like, you know, was part of the doppelganger's master plan, but I wonder if spawning an evil child was. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Richard obviously
definitely had it was, you know, it was like father like son there, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, almost even worse.
Yeah, worse in some ways. Yeah.
You know, I mean, people thought Leo Johnson was a bad guy in season 1. Oh my Lord.
This guy was way off the chart. Yeah. You know.
Completely. So. All right. So she goes on to say, seventh curiosity is that Agent Cooper vanished. Major Briggs was the last person in town that Cooper visited before his disappearance. And that they found some loose teeth, which matched Briggs's dental records.
Yeah.
Led to the conclusion that he did indeed die in the fire at the station. So since we know Major Briggs lived, either he got wounded in some sort of struggle there at the station, or he just is trying to throw people off his scent and he's just ripping his teeth out like Ed Helms in The Hangover.
So I was thinking, did he extract his own teeth to cover up? Yeah.
Well, either that or he got hurt in some sort of struggle and he lost some teeth and said, I got to get out of here. Zoop.
Yeah, it could be that. Yeah, that's the thing.
I can't imagine. I can't see Garland Briggs just ripping teeth out.
Oh.
You know?
I can't. I don't know really.
I mean, who knows? Eighth curiosity says within 3 months of these apparently interrelated events, these events occurred. Doc Hayward abruptly shut down his practice and moved to Vermont. Shortly thereafter, him and his wife, Eileen, 26 years of marriage, filed papers that finalized an uncontested divorce. Mm. That same month, Donna graduated and moved to New York, which is really interesting because when you go to Donna's chapter, it says she moved to New York in 1992. But these events all take place in 1989. Right? It says she graduated high school in 1992 and moved to New York City. Okay, well, she was a senior in 1989.
Yeah.
So she certainly wasn't a freshman in 1989, I'll tell you that much. Right? I mean, maybe she needed Harriet's bicycle because she couldn't drive a car. I don't know. But anyway, says her mother, Eileen, still confined to the wheelchair, stayed in the Haywards family Twin Peaks home where she raised Harriet and Gersten alone. Ninth curiosity is that Eileen received $7,500 a month from a direct deposit wire transfer from the Cayman Islands, which links back to Ben Horne.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Ben Horne feels terrible as to what happened and is basically third-partying, taking care of her for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, Ben Horne does a lot of evil, devious things, but this was a sign of wanting to help her out. It's pretty.
Do you think that might that those payments that he was doing to Eileen? I know she dies in 2009 in the book and so on, and in that history strand. But when you look at the new series, the bit where I can't remember her name now, Sylvia contacts Ben about wanting more money.
Right.
Do you remember?
Right.
And he puts his foot down and says, no more payments or something, I was just wondering, that because of all these sort of things that have been happening, that he had to cut the money down or stop things because he was probably dried out from paying those amounts of money to Eileen.
I don't know. I mean, Ben Horne charges. I think Ben Horne charges a pretty penny for all those conventions that come through the Great Northern. So, between that and I'm sure the selling of One-Eyed Jacks, he probably rents out One-Eyed Jacks and probably still makes money off of it. I don't know. But I don't know. He has to have income coming. I think he was just, he's estranged from Sylvia, and I liked how the book also, gets into why she had her own house over here and he was always in his office because he pretty much slept in his office.
Yes,
that's kind of a nice touch there. Says that Tamara tried to figure out why Ben Horne was making these payments, but she says because these filings were in accordance with existing law and there's no crime or corporate malfeasance, that the DOJ has declined to issue a subpoena to pursue this matter any further. So pretty much case closed. But then she kind of concludes this chapter by saying, my feeling, and this is not supported by fact, is that night at the Hayward household, when Ben Horne dropped in, whatever happened, the effects of this event devastated and destroyed one of the community's most admired and respected families. Harriet, the middle daughter, is the only one that came out unscathed, going to the University of Washington, where she became a pediatrician in a suburb in Seattle. And of course, we all know what happened to Gersten by seeing season 3 with her boyfriend, Everyone Loves Steven.
Yeah.
So that's pretty tragic stuff. I mean, there's a lot of tragic stuff in this book, but in this chapter, we're witnessing the destruction of two families. And we're going to find out a little bit more about the Hornes in the next chapter in the Ben and Audrey section.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
But this is the complete devastation of the nuclear family, as they say.
It is. Yeah.
Why do you think Mark Frost is so intent on destroying all of these people's lives in this book?
I don't think he's not. I don't think he is. He's just revealing. He's filling in the gaps of what we've already seen. We know we saw in the series, particularly the original, how these families were being affected by things, how things were crumbling around them. You could see that the interplay between the family. When the first scenes you see very early on, it's that this family isn't tight. The Hornes, for instance, you see Ben at the end of the dining scene that just.
Right.
And Lynch just holds that shot for ages and ages and ages.
Well, at least until that
wide shot.
Until the credits end.
But it just.
And then all of.
But that tells you so much about that family just from that shot. That they don't really talk. They're sitting at the table, but they're all in their own different worlds. And Sylvia's looking in despair at it all, and you know,
all explodes when Jerry comes walking.
When Jerry comes in,
with, he's sort of the Judd Nelson of the Breakfast Club. He comes knocking down the doors with his big sandwiches, and all of a sudden the family starts talking. That's when the first time Sylvia goes, Benjamin.
But it's just it's giving you a hint from very early on in this series as to how this family functions. You know, we know it's not that good, and then of course more secrets get revealed, and then the whole thing falls apart in the end episode.
Well, we have the Horns being distant from each other, and then you have the Haywards, which they're very close, and not close like Leland and Laura, but I mean they're a tight family. I mean, even so, when I think the moment that just makes everyone feel so happy in the pilot is when Will says to Donna in the car, like, there's one more thing we need to figure out, lady. Where's your sister's bicycle? It's like, and that music comes in, and he goes, I heard you promised Harry you put some air in the tire, and she goes, yes, I did. And it's like this really sweet moment.
I'm so thankful for having a daughter like you, wasn't it? He said,
exactly. And then obviously that's followed up the next morning with Donna telling her mom about why she snuck out to see James, and it's just such a wonderful, beautiful family. And I make jokes like, oh, Mark Frost seems intent on destroying everybody's lives, but this is the natural consequence of the events we saw at the end of season 2. It makes sense. Is it the story I think we wanted to hear? No. Does it match up with what we've seen in season 3? Yes. Does it make logical sense why this would happen to everybody? Yes. So there it is. And maybe that's why Lynch is kind of against these type of books, because one, it takes away your thoughts and dreams as to what happened to these characters. This pretty much sets it in stone. That being said, I do kind of like knowing what happened to them. Good or bad. I enjoy it. It's great to spend time in this town with the characters that I fell in love with.
Yeah, it's nice to know a few new little things, little tidbits, as they say.
No, tidbit is what Lynch calls Laura Dern.
Oh yeah, tidbit, come over here. Yeah. Don't shoot yourself in the crotch while you're at it. Yeah.
Or what does he say when he's directing her and Kyle in that hotel room? I need some epic kissing or something like that. Something silly like that. But yeah, I mean, I really like this chapter, and this book is just I think it's wonderful. As much as I wasn't wowed by the secret history like some people, I'm just like the other pendulum has swung in the favor of this book. I think that this is the book I wanted to read prior to the series. Now I understand why they didn't release these chapters prior to the series, because again, it kind of it lets you in on a lot of characters that don't end up showing up in the series. So maybe they thought, oh, we might disappoint a lot of people if we don't have these characters in the show.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think this book gives the show context as to why some people aren't there and what is going on with some of the other people. But I understand both reasons. I mean, me personally, I wish I could have read this book prior to the series. I mean, I love the series as it is, but this would have made me even appreciate it even more. Right? But the great news is that we have this book now, so that when we get the Blu-ray, we'll be able to appreciate all those cool little details that way.
Yeah, and also it kind of makes you look at the episodes in a different light as well once you know this information.
Oh yeah,
for better or for worse, it depends how your viewpoint is on it. But you get a little bit more out of it. You're getting a little extra bit out of it by knowing these little facts, beforehand, as well.
Oh, I completely.
Maybe it sweetens it more. I don't know.
To me, it does. It kind of adds just a little bit more sweetener to the awesome drink I'm already having.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. I appreciate you, Frank, coming on and talking this with me right now. Where can people find you online?
We've got Live from the Roadhouse podcasts. That's the best place to go. From all my little online content, my YouTube content, that is. So it's Live from the Roadhouse podcasts on YouTube. It'd be great if you could all go over there, because I've got I've moved my 20 questions over there now, so they're on a playlist on that same page, and along with a couple of Twin Peaks interviews as well. So that would be cool.
Yeah, everybody,
do that, yeah.
Check out Frank's stuff over there on YouTube. It's great stuff over there. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching these chapter reviews. I've been hearing lots of people tell me how much they're enjoying them so far. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching them and giving the videos likes and shares and writing your awesome comments below. I really love all of that. So you guys take it easy, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.